And in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place.
You are not content with the stories. Somebody's lives come. Be my victim.
Through watching scenes of violence, through watching scenes of transgression, through watching scenes of horror. There's an enormous amount of sort of abattoir of excess.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
Good evening, folks. Welcome to episode 56 of Double Feature Horror Show. How are you all doing tonight?
I watched this cool videotape.
Oh, sweet,
That was pretty cool, yeah. And I got a weird phone call. I was like, what the hell's this? And on the phone call, it says, you either subscribe to Proper Horror Show or you die in 7 days.
Oh, so smooth! So smooth! Oh, I am very impressed. I am very impressed. Oh, I think you get a special reward for that.
That was some dank shilling right there, man.
Oh, straight off, guys. Do you see how polished we are? That you're seconds into the stream and we dropped an amazing shill. Well, I tell you, we are the masters at what we do.
Absolutely.
In fact, we're world leaders, and there is proof of this.
Sick of hearing about Evil Dead 2. Do you want to know why Hellraiser is so flawed? Have you ever wondered how to work out the marginal productivity of Amicus Portman 2 films? Do you want to level up your education in horror movies? Buy it now. £350. Foundations of horror movies. Foundations of horror movies. I'm here. Foundations of horror movies. Get it now.
How do you make that and not have a single scene with George Sanders?
Oh my god.
Oh, because I was rushing it and I thought, well, I could get my boy George Sanders in from his excellent turn in Village of the Damned from 1960, but maybe I'll do a reworking on that.
That was excellent, though.
Oh,
there you go.
brilliant.
Academic agent approved.
Academic agent, please respond. No, I made that because he put out the horror education, and I kind of thought, well, responding to and reviewing AA's horror syllabus might be quite interesting. But we have got a very packed show tonight, so I don't think I'll do it this time. But next week, or maybe as a one-off cozy stream, I don't know. We could go for that.
Yeah, do it as the topic.
Definitely.
Maybe. Or it might require more work than that. You know what, Proper Horror Show? I think you'll decide that.
Yes.
And you'll decide well.
Thank you. Well, we should probably get into things. I hope you guys are both well. I hope you're doing well in chat. A question that I mean to ask every week and seem to forget to do is, have you guys, Haryan, TCG, have you actually seen The Ring before? Have you seen the film we're covering, or was this the first time you watched it?
So, like a lot of things, this was something I only really know through references, and obviously Family Guy. It's one of the more memorable ones because obviously it's just a scene with Peter with a videotape and the girl from The Ring saying, "No, Peter, if you watch it, you'll die." And he's like, "Oh, that's a load of baloney." So he puts it on, and it's just the introduction to the film Mannequin, and then it just goes back to Peter, and he's dead. I've never seen the film Mannequin, but I quickly read up on the plot, and it sounds horrendous. It's like some Egyptian god takes over a mannequin and controls it, and then a guy falls in love with it. So I can see why, out of other films, Family Guy would pick on that one.
Oh my!
And I knew about like the girl coming out the TV because I've seen that clip before, but that's about it, really. So
okay,
that's my knowledge of The Ring.
And how about You know, the original will have come out when you were, I believe, 2 years old.
Yes, the Japanese one will have come out when I'm 2. The American one when I was 6. So I wouldn't have been able to watch it in the cinema unless I had a very good fake ID.
Disgraceful, isn't it? This film is 20 years old today.
I'm so sorry.
Don't. What, today?
Not today exactly.
Oh.
Sorry, this year. I was torn. Do we do the Japanese? Do we do the remake? And then I thought, the remake is 20 years old. Let's show it a bit of love, but we'll have to reference the Japanese original. TCG, is this a first watch for you, or returning to it after a while?
Returning to it after a while. In fact, this is one of the few horror movies that I actually saw at cinema.
Ooh.
Yeah, now I'm showing my bloody age, aren't I? I saw this at cinema with my mate and his sister, and on the way home we phoned his mum and said, because she had like really long black hair, my mate's mum, when you open the door, put your hair over your face and say 7 days. And she did that. My mate's sister absolutely freaked out, as we expected, like burst into tears and everything. And then me and my mate got an absolute rollicking from his mum for doing that.
Well, this film and trolling clearly go hand in hand. I might as well drop it now while it's relevant, but some of the promotional things they did for this was, as well as dropping the cursed video just into cinema trailers with no warning and no context as a build-up, they also left copies of VHSs with the cursed video on.
Oh, really?
On people's cars in the car parks during the first week of screenings.
Oh my god, that's amazing! That's amazing.
And for a real dick move, if you got the DVD of this film and you've watched it once and you've let it go all the way through, if you leave it on the menu for a while, a phone starts ringing. Just to mess with you.
Actually, saying that, my wife hasn't seen this film, so we watched it together when we were doing the rewatch in preparation for this. And after, the scene where she watches it for the first time, and it essentially puts you through that whole video as well. I couldn't help but sort of in the corner, just got my phone out and just started dialing her digits. And as soon as it stopped, beep, here we go. And she just looked at me and went. She just looked at me and was like, I know it's you. Crap.
You are mean.
I'm horrible.
Excellent timing, though. Excellent
That's why
timing.
she loves me, though.
I should mention, you did get a sneaky shilling right at the start, so thank you very much for a super chat. Nice. Very cheeky one.
Do you want me to read that one out?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, then. Ringu. I can't get that out of my head.
What is that from?
It's Pingu.
Oh.
Every time you said Ringu, that's what I thought of as well.
Yes. I genuinely have not been able to get that out of my head all bloody week because of this stream.
Oh, there we go. Well,
So
I'm glad you read that out and not me, because I was quite confused. I was working, what are you getting at? So I'll leave you with it. Nope. There's a high quality stream. What I should probably do before we go any further is do a little clarification, because I do believe I've confused a fair few folks, and I'm glad I managed to say that properly. This new arc that we're starting, which I introduced to everyone for the first time, actually let everyone know all their horror homework in advance, which is a first time for us here. It is the disturbing footage arc, and it has caused a lot of confusion because you are naturally, understandably asking, what the heck do you mean by disturbing footage? Isn't it all disturbing? Isn't anything scary trying to disturb us? And I should clarify, this is not generic horror. This is not found footage. This is a type of story that I am really interested in. that's got a lot of pedigree and has got a very specific way of unfolding. What I mean by a disturbing footage film is a film that's based around the discovery of something unsettling and uncanny, something kind of mysterious and disturbing. Now, in these films, it's footage, it's videotape. But this is not always the way, okay? Like your classic story, the classic version of this, it's not someone discovering a videotape and having the world sort of unravel as they try and work out what this came from, what it means, and so on. They would discover things like diaries or old books. You could sort of say like it's the basic plot of, say, The Evil Dead when they discover the Necronomicon, except instead of finding arcane forbidden knowledge in a very Lovecraftian sense, it just unleashes a demon straight away. But in other Lovecraft stories, people are finding, say, mysterious diaries that they have to investigate, and they follow this kind of mysterious trail that leads them into dark, disturbing underworlds, and basically taking them off the course of their normal life into disturbing, upsetting, scary realms. That is what I am interested in here, particularly in the form that it takes, as you can see in this fairly concentrated time period, after the millennium, or around the millennium of...
Sorry, just something else.
VHS.
Something Mergu sent me.
The Scary Movie 3-bit.
No, I'll forward it to you. You can.
Okay. We're good. So that's what I'm interested in. Disturbing footage is this plot of someone uncovering some disturbing footage that they investigate that just completely unravels their life, and that is the source of horror. So different to found footage. You aren't just sort of watching it all the way through. It's got that investigative element that I find really compelling, that's got a lot of pedigree in the horror world, from obviously Frankenstein with the discovery of the sort of epistolary structure through to Lovecraft. Now, Fez, being a seasoned veteran here, has asked the key question. Why are we starting with The Ring and not Cannibal Holocaust?
Because I still retain some innocence.
Yeah. I should. How can I say? The temptation to make a joke about faked footage for this is very tempting, but we're not going to go there. Susan doesn't appreciate irony. We are not covering Cannibal Holocaust from 1980, even though it really fits. Ruggero Deodato's sort of seminal, much banned, very controversial Video Nasty is absolutely the kind of thing that fits into disturbing footage. People receive, to give a brief overview of what happens in that film, and I am loving the new avatar there, that ring guy.
It's just loading up on my screen here now.
Oh no, it's come up here. It's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Why? This was a good film. Why are you memeing it?
Don't blame me, blame Mergu.
Oh gosh. Sorry. So, Cannibal Holocaust absolutely fits this thing. You know, some footage is discovered from explorers going into the Amazon, investigating tribes and bringing back tales of horror. And that prompts an investigation to find out what happened to the crew, and then you get more details, you find more footage. So it is this interesting sort of found footage movie, where it's got a lot more of an investigative narrative to it. Unfortunately, Cannibal Holocaust is one that I would have a fair amount. I would have a difficult time showing clips from, and I also don't want to rewatch it. I know I'm going to have to, because there is a really interesting history with the BBFC and Cannibal Holocaust. But oh gosh, I do not want to rewatch that movie. I basically can't. I have no tolerance for cruelty to animals. I can't watch it. I find it really upsetting. It squeaks me out something awful. And that film has a lot in, and it is not simulated.
I was going to say, because I don't think I've seen that film myself personally, but I have heard that film has quite a lot of actual animal abuse in it. But it was at a time really where there wasn't really that much focus on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, standards were different. It was produced by Italians. They had very different standards. But I say that.
You mean lower?
Well, basically,
Racist.
Italian laws are what a combo. But I say this, and you could justifiably point to, say, something like the films of John Waters, where chickens are killed on camera during a sex scene, so it's not just the Italians, but I'm afraid it's my own personal limit. I can't manage it. So I'm pushing that off. It's not the friendliest film to talk about, but it is very much fitting in with the disturbing footage theme. So you are spared that one, guys. You are spared seeing Cannibal Holocaust.
Gatekeeping.
Yes, totally. I know I'm going to have to do it because the BBFC's decisions around the censoring of it are hilarious. But
come on, chap. This is what you get for watching a vegan. Like, you're going to be disappointed,
Speaking of, I'm curious, like where you think films like Blair Witch Project fit around this sort of disturbing footage arc, because I know that it's sort of different in that you're not watching it and then experiencing it sort of like secondhand. But would you say that like the found footage sort of genre, as it were, would sort of fit into this sort of type of content along the lines of like The Ring and?
Well, they I think they run alongside each other quite a lot, but there's something about the way found footage is almost always just this unbroken narrative. It's just sort of pieced together and you see it unfold. So it's just a way of presenting a standard story.
Yeah.
Whereas this is much more about finding disturbing secrets, and your world being torn apart. You could probably throw something like In the Mouth of Madness into the mix here. That is kind of investigating disturbing literature. And there's another one that really appealed that you could absolutely put into this fairly small subgenre. Actually, there are two that I was thinking of. One is Blowout by Brian De Palma. I did not manage to find myself a copy of it, so I haven't been able to see it, but I gather that fits. And the other one is Michel Haneke's Caché, or Hidden. Very intriguing one. It's basically about a bougie middle-class Frenchman who starts receiving videotapes that are just taken of his house with no commentary whatsoever. And so he is very disturbed by this, by being just stalked by this footage of him going about his life that he's got no idea who's taking it. And he investigates that. That is interesting. It definitely fits, but it... I don't think it's big enough on the horror. It's more got a couple of very concentrated, horrific moments, but then the rest of the film doesn't really match with what we try and cover. So I decided to skip Caché. And we'll get our dose of Haneka eventually when we cover funny games, you know. That is inevitable. Yes, Murgook, absolutely. Yes, it is John Travolta. Brian De Palma seems to like working with him. Who can blame him? Who can blame him? So, yeah, I was reading Kim Newman's book, Nightmare Movies, and he's a big fan of Brian De Palma. Quite interesting. And of course, all the Hitchcock tributes that he throws in, they certainly help, you know. If Brian De Palma isn't ringing a bell for you, Haryan or TCG, that is the guy behind Carrie.
Yes, I thought that name rang a bell. I'm awful with the producers though and directors, as you know.
Understandable. Do not worry about it. Do not worry about it. Well, we should probably move forward. We've now given you an idea of what the disturbing footage arc is going to be covering, and we might as well get into the first film. I might struggle a bit tonight. I'm a lot better than I was last week, considerably less dead, but that's not hard to beat, is it? You know,
You'll make it.
I was an absolute state last week, wasn't I? Oh,
You
gosh.
can do it. You can do it.
Well, before we go any further, I should say, you know, all the standard stuff. We are on YouTube, as you may have noticed, and therefore we do have to serve the algorithm while we provide our own disturbing footage. So, if you have not already, please do smash that like button.
My God, the way that there's only one type of kill in this film. You've got to wait for that girl to climb out of the TV screen, and then as you look in horror, the favorite and like button will both be pressed as they are left screaming in your chair. I don't even know how to do it for this one.
Oh, you can always just come up behind that subscribe button, wrap some tight plastic over its mouth.
Yep.
Yeah, bag over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Push it into the well and just seal the top.
Plug.
And leave her in there for 7 days to suffer.
There we go. Absolutely, yes. We're shilling hard. I want you to learn from The Ring. You've got to spread my channel like you would a cursed videotape. All around. Make copies. Send it. Wait, no, don't make copies. Don't Hassan me. Just send links. Just copy links and send those to friends who may be interested in hearing some horror film analysis. And of course, the final thing I have to shill, so I sound like a professional real life YouTuber, is we are monetized, probably because we aren't covering Cannibal Holocaust or making those jokes about it. And so you can drop super chats like my good friend TCG did. And if you want to avoid putting any money into Susan's pockets, if you look in the description to this video, you can find the link to my Subscribe Star, which is where one of the places I'm going to be posting exclusive content. Yes, absolutely. Needle and fur, darn straight. That's the idea.
Nice.
Okay, good. We've shilled so well. All right. So moving on to the film for tonight, The Ring, specifically the remake of The Ring.
Ooh.
Yes. Glorious. Much adapted. The first adaptation of the Little Red novels was in 1995, a TV movie. Then there was a full movie version directed by Hideo Nakata in 1997, made for a minuscule $1.2 million equivalent in yen. Chat, how many of you managed to see the Japanese as well? How many of you went out of your way and did the extra bonus watching?
Don't feel bad if you didn't. Me and TCG couldn't either. So,
Yeah,
but, you
do
know,
not worry about it. It's a bonus. If you did manage to watch the Japanese version, you got a much more muted palette. You got some unexpected techno. You got a really Chad ex-husband. Like, the guy was a bit of a boss. He was a real highlight for me. Oh, and you got a heck of a lot of journo bashing, which is always nice to have in a film.
Can't go wrong with a bit of journo bashing.
Exactly. But the first Japanese, I mean, the Japanese production of The Ring is quite fascinating. It was a hit. I cannot even keep up with the way it was produced because Ring was made, and almost simultaneously there is a Korean production of the same thing, of the same story. There is an initial sequel called Rasen, which was not a big hit. I have not managed to see it. And so that was kind of rebooted, and you just get another sequel called Ring 2. You get a prequel called Ring Zero Bastai. Though it's just a lot of unconnected sequels happen. Lots of different visions for the film happen. But over the pond in the US, we're about 2002. Something's happened. Something very interesting has happened. Around 1996. I'm going to leave it hanging until someone gets it. I'm returning to a really
96.
old... 1996. What came out in 1996 that shook up the horror world?
Me?
Oh, Scream.
Yes!
Uh,
Yes! That's the one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm really bad with years.
Don't worry about it.
That's all
Don't
I
worry.
can
We
say.
talked about this before.
Yeah.
Before that basically Hollywood tried to ride the meta wave for a while. Once they'd sort of milked all the tasty drama juice out of Kevin Williamson, they found themselves a bit wondering what to do, because they had tried doing meta. They went intensely meta for a few years after the success of Scream. But they found themselves not quite sure what to do. And so we talked about this before. Yeah, Yiz got it. Absolutely. Well done. Nailed it. Yes. Yes, Richard. I actually saw that in the cinema. I feel very old now. Thank you, Richard.
It's all right. You are old.
I am. It's true.
Oh.
So we've described this before. Hollywood had itself a bit of a dilemma. It couldn't do the it couldn't do meta anymore. That was too difficult. So they tried a whole bunch of remakes. This is the Platinum June wave that we've talked about before, starting with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2003 is like the most obvious one. And there was also the torture porn wave, which started pretty much the same time, 2004, I would say, with Saw. But then there was this prong as well that we've talked about, so I won't go over it too much, but looking for other things to adapt. They see that there's this big hit in Japan, and they say, okay, we're going to remake it.
Good idea.
And they did it.
So from the Japanese budget of $1.2 million US, they decided to make a remake for about $40 million is what I've seen.
Right.
I think 48 million. And they hand it to reasonably seasoned director Gore Verbinski. He knew what he was doing. I mean, he would go on to have... Do you know what he did immediately after this?
No.
This blows my mind, right? The same guy who made this. Next thing he does is Pirates of the Caribbean.
No way.
Yeah. Same dude. It blows my mind.
What a nutter.
It was also adaptation duties went to old friend of the channel, a guy we've talked about many a time before, Aaron Kruger. That may be ringing some bells from the glorious days of
I know,
Scream
Freddy
3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Scream 3, we were not fans of the writing, were we?
No.
Hang on, have we got Tailed Feature trying to start a... Are you starting a tower in my chat, sir?
Tailed, what are you doing, Dar?
Oh,
Jesus.
dear. Setting a
Why is
bad
he like
example
this?
for your son here. Terrible.
Exactly. I might start saying the word. Then you'll be blamed and get the non-crime hate incident or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, Richard, as you say, Gore Verbinski's films, they're somewhat... I can't make sense of it, but what can you do? You know. So basically, they hand it to a reliable guy, and they bring in Aaron Kruger, reliable writer for hire. Mixed results, obviously, from Aaron Kruger, but they were helped out by some uncredited rewrites from a chap named Scott Frank. Not a guy I was familiar with, but turns out that he did the writing for Logan.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, pretty good going. All right. So there was some talent behind this. You've also got a very early appearance by Naomi Watts.
Yes.
They, they've got a decent budget for this, but Gore Verbinski did not want a big name helming it. He wanted someone who was a lot more... I am watching that tower. Good.
Get it away.
I'm getting nervous. I got nervous there, Tailed.
Yeah, so, right, what are YouTube gonna do? Come and get you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So very early performance from Naomi Watts. She would end up producing a film I absolutely adore immediately after this, Mulholland Drive.
Nice.
You guys are good. Well,
I have no idea what that is.
Oh, I hope you love it when we get to it. It's a very interesting David Lynch film. It's possibly the film where you and I are going to have the most disparate scores, Harry.
Well, that sounds fun. See about
that. And the other thing I want to note from this is something you will see that became so inextricably associated with the J-horror remakes. And it's kind of weird because the original Ring does not have this at all, but this color grading that you can see there, that sort of light green wash over everything.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was quite like a there was like a bluish greenish kind of like hue over the throughout the movie.
Yeah, I kind of liked it. Made it a bit, you know.
We should talk about the stylizing of this. Yeah, it does do this, but you know, in fairness, Saw did this as well. They gave it a strong blue wash. This has got more of that green tone, but yeah, it became inextricably associated with the J-horror remakes, and they basically repeatedly had this. No matter what they're adapting, they would give this wash, which is it does kind of date them in a sense, because I just automatically associate that look and that color palette with this early 2000s period.
I kind of liked it though. It gave it a creepier vibe, for lack of a better term. So
I'm seeing there's appreciation for Mulholland Drive. Fantastic. That is going to be a great one when we get to that. Yeah. Okay. So that is some of the production. Would either of you like to quickly handle the premise of the film? Oh, and also, spoiler warning, guys. Spoilers. We finally remembered to say.
Yes, spoilers, believe it or not, for this 20-year-old film.
Literally 20 years old this year.
I love that. I love that we have to emphasise how old these films are nowadays when we're giving the spoiler alert.
These films are old. You're old, and you should feel bad about that. Me though, I'm a young one. I don't even know who Destiny's Child are. So, I mean, this film had a really good introduction, and it unironically did what Scream was making fun of 6 years before, but it did it well. I personally think with the two young girls, and one of them was like Alex Jonesing saying, "Oh, you know, the electromagnetic radiation from TVs melts your brain or whatever." While the other one's just like, "Oh, choose something to watch then." So she just turns the TV off and it's like, "Oh, I watched this videotape though." While the other one's talking about a videotape where you die 7 days later, and obviously they just don't. Neither of them believe it. So they have a bit of fun. Like she pretends to die. Destiny's grandchild, nice. But yeah, one of them pretends to die, and then the other's like, "Oh, stop it! Stop making fun." Then it's like a normal kind of two girls just messing about at night, type thing. And then while one of them's on the phone to their mum, the other girl disappears, and she's like, "Where have you gone? Like, this isn't funny. Stop creeping me out." And then goes up to the room. Oh, there's water coming under the door. And then she goes in, and it kind of does the jump scare thing, but I kind of let it slide with this film a bit. Because it's kind of meta. It is using a TV screen, and it's like that probably would jump scare you. Because when she opens the door, zooms in on the TV on this well, zooms in on her face goes like, ah! While Wells' eyes and creepy crawlies are flashed on screen, which usually I don't like, but for this one I was like, oh.
Can I just stop you there? So,
Yes.
Did anyone else get scary? Whoever, for those who've seen Scary Movie 3, did anybody else, like in the chat or in here with the panel, like get the crossover between the two films for the opening scene? Because for those who don't know, Scary Movie 3, the opening scene parodies the opening scene to this film, and they use they use Pamela Anderson and Carmen Electra, I believe. Actually, no, it might not be Carmen Electra, but I know they definitely use Pammy.
I remember it from back in the day, but
yeah,
I'm afraid.
There were just like little scenes where she was like, "Oh my god, you hoe!" and they start having like the pillow fight, and then like obviously Scary Movie being Scary Movie goes proper over the top with that. And then there's the bit when I think Pamela Anderson goes in and she sees the girl dead in the corner, and obviously what freaked me out about this film was the facial expressions, like all the contortions on their faces. And
I can flash that on screen if you want.
Oh, go for it.
Please do. It looks really good.
So I should point out, like I said when I was discussing, this is one of the things that I think the American remake does much better than the Japanese. Japanese one, you get a similar just zoom in on the person's face. They've got the exact same opening scenario, and it goes photo negative. They are saving budget on this. Ring doesn't give us the gore straight away. It makes us wait a while, but eventually we do see the after effects. I'm going to get it up on screen now. Warning, it is not pleasant.
Oh.
You get...
Oh, God.
Just horrible contortions. It's not...
It's
in
so
the Japanese,
well done.
They die screaming,
but
they look quite normal. It's this discoloration, the rigor mortis, pure nightmare fuel.
It's like, and also, it's just a bit where they open the door and her head just sort of just like flops down as well. I remember seeing this in the cinema, man. I was like,
You get the briefest moments of this, and the fact that you're kept waiting for it, and then you're shown it very quickly. It does help it really land. You're aware of how horrific that is. I'm going to remove that because it's horrible.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I really want to praise the film for. It doesn't blow its load. at all.
Nice.
For that type of thing.
Do we still qualify as a family-friendly stream?
You know,
Yeah,
what I
why
mean,
not?
That's fine. But yeah, I mean, a lot of modern films, it'd be like, you know, oh, you have to look at every detail. Look at what our effects department did. Don't you enjoy that?
Mm.
And I'm just like, yeah, but stop, please. That's very annoying. So, yeah, I really did want to praise that because I kept noticing that and thought, hey, that's really neat. Please keep doing that. Which they did. It really makes you wait for the kind of horror almost, for lack of a better term.
Yes, yeah. I mean, this is one of the things that really made it stand out for me. I actually started off seeing the Japanese original, so I think I've got the old Tartan Asia Extreme releases from literally from literally the late 90s. I've got the first 3 films all on that release with the iconic poster.
Nice.
Nice.
Yes. And it was just such a different style of horror that it focused on dread. It did not give you that much sort of release in terms of, you know, there's no killer coming out and you get a quick stab in the throat and suddenly, oh, brilliant, tension drops again, I can relax a bit. It was a very like constant dread that was really quite really made quite an impression on me. Just like this totally different style of horror. And I like that they largely carry it over to the American version. But the decision to actually show some deformity on the corpses, I think, was a really good one.
Yeah. It shows you don't just die, you
It's horrific, it's frightening. It does feel, obviously it's quite, it does feel quite quick as well, but just the sheer violence, you know, the fear, like essentially dying of fear.
Yeah.
That's how it feels, you know.
Yeah, you are clearly dying painfully.
Yes.
And that's how people are going to remember you. Like, man, I do not envy the mortician.
I mean,
who has to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite impressive on how it does it, because that's like that split second of showing that face. I remember again, just for years afterwards, whenever I would do sort of like a scary face or something like that, if we're mucking about, that would be the face that I would go and try and pull, you know. It's honestly, it was really effective, and actually watching the film with my wife, I swear to God, I remembered that scene differently, because I thought you saw the face, and again, I could have just been getting this like mixed up with Scary Movie 3, but I remembered it as being that she was found in the opening scene like that, and it was more. It was just that little bit longer, and so it just shows how effective that split second and how just well done the makeup and effects were for that bit, because it etched into my brain and I remembered it for 20 years, like right down to the last detail.
Yeah,
your imagination will be filling in a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It does so well, and you know, it's post Scream, so you notice it has to play with the fake outs, but it still brings you over. Like the girls are believable, they're vulnerable. There's little key-ins like the fact that she's barefoot to increase the vulnerability.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. It all lands. It all lands really well. There's a thing that Tail saying yes. The videotape thing. It is interesting. Like, this feels like one of the last pre-internet films, you know, especially when they're doing the research.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think the internet connections were that quick back in that day.
No, it's interesting. But then, you know, I did notice at the funeral that the aunt, Rachel's, the protagonist's sister, says that teenagers don't just drop dead from heart problems all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So that
spent
does,
four-
does feel quite
Yeah.
current in
She
other
was like,
ways.
yeah, she was
Yeah.
like, I spent 4 hours on the internet researching this, and I'm just like, yeah, no.
Yeah,
Nah,
that
if you-
4
if
hours
you-
was to
if you
get one
take this-
JPEG. I'm sorry.
If you take this injection, you get a phone call saying 7 days.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Go get your vaccines, chat, just so YouTube's off our back.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
I feel
These
like-
are comments unrelated to anything, of course.
I mean, it's quite interesting though, because at the time the film was released, it was 2002. The film was released. DVDs were very much a thing at the time, anyway.
Mm.
not VCRs, VHSs were still obviously on sale, and you could still very much purchase things on video, but DVD was very much leading the way. It was evident that VHSs were becoming an old technology.
Mm.
And I feel like as the years have gone on, I think the fact that they decided to go with the VHS has only sort of strengthened the lore behind that. Because it was like you were talking about earlier on at the beginning of the stream, how like older movies would use things like books as kind of like it's kind of like the disturbing footage. I'm doing air quotes here. And nowadays, what's kind of like the more archaic form of a DVD or like one of the old MP3 sticks. Well, it would be a VHS nowadays, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, when we get to next week, it's literal 8mm reels.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's interesting to think of the VHS as having that sense of already being a kind of slightly older technology, being just slightly behind the times. But I can't imagine this working with the DVD. It's
no, that's it.
The idea of being able to imprint onto a film cell has it just. I struggle to word it, but basically that logically makes more sense than being able to like psychically write onto a DVD.
Yeah.
But yeah, it also it has it kind of works because of logic. I mean, I'm going way back in the day here, but you would just and chat back me up on this. I know you're not all Zoomers, but people would just accumulate videos with random stuff on them.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Where's the tape I've got Star Trek The Next Gen on? What did you record? Did you record over that movie? Oh, man.
Yes.
I had to stay up to record that. Gosh darn. Pausing every time the ads came on.
I'd have a video like at the beginning it would be like an episode of the Power Rangers, and then afterwards it was like the Running Man, and then and then sort of stuck in that, making sure that you put the long play setting on so you get more recording out of it.
Oh gosh, yeah.
God, yeah.
Setting off nostalgia bombs here for chat, and you'd watch it years later and you'd be like, oh, hang on. I know I've got that taped somewhere, and you look at, and someone's not managed to skip the ad breaks, so you've got these, like, you're suddenly having a nostalgia bomb from like a 5-year-old Purcell ad.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, definitely.
Or now that's what I call music 8. Mind-blowing stuff. So it kind of, there's a logic that you would have this like tape with random things on it,
A fun little fact, I'm sure my wife won't mind me saying, but when she was a teenage girl, she once upon a time, and she loved the Backstreet Boys because she was into all that pop stuff, and she told me that she had a video, and all it was just made up of Backstreet Boys clips, like if they'd done like little interviews and I'm only reminded because someone said in the chat, Needle and Fur mentioned Top of the Pops. If they performed on Top of the Pops, then they'd have there'd be a little bit there, and it was a whole like collection of that. And I'm sure I did stuff with things like Power Rangers, because I remember because it used to be on in the mornings, but I had to go we had to go and meet my nan when my mum worked, so like was like during the summer holidays, and so I'd have like 3 or 4 VHS tapes just full of like old episodes of the Power Rangers. Because yes, I was a child. I liked the Power Rangers. You know, nerd. Yep. Old WWF shows. Yes, actually, I used to record episodes of Sunday Night Heat as well, but back when it was on Channel 4, and I had the old Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble 2000. I had that. I recorded that as well because that was the first pay-per-view I believe that Channel 4 did when they had an agreement with the WWF at the time. Yeah, good times.
Oh, Rich.
Chat lines.
Yeah. I included some clips from some old 90s dodgy chat line ads when I did that advert for you, Haryan, the Real Queen's Hotline.
Oh man. Oof. That takes me back.
Yeah. 0891 50 50 50. You're all hearing it in your head now if you're in the UK. Anyway, there's an interesting point here. Like Tales actually brought up something very relevant. This is super true.
Yes.
And there's a corollary to this, which is that the whole thing of if your TV goes on the glitch and you just have TV static, that looks creepy.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
When it's digital, you don't get the static.
That's right.
Like you get weird buffering, but it's not as creepy as the old static, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, actually. That's a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah, so you would have trouble remaking it and updating it. But of course, they did manage to skip that problem when they did, quite randomly, a really delayed sequel to The Ring in 2019, Rings. They just skip DVDs completely and they go to the kind of obvious idea of someone puts the video online.
Oh yes.
Needle and Fur remembers. Yes. I bet you can hear the song, can't you? Oh dear. All right, we should move. We should move. But
man, all that from the first scene.
I know. Well, it's such an iconic scene, though.
It's
done
scene.
so well. It's done so well. The rest of the film, we are basically hanging around with our good journalist friend Rachel Keller here, played by the very young Naomi Watts.
I thought I recognised her.
Yeah. This is very early for her. Very early indeed.
I'm trying to think what else I know her from, though.
King Kong.
Oh, right, yeah. And she plays a lot of Americans. Yeah, I've seen Long Kong. That will soon be an EFAP for the ages.
Long Kong. Oh no.
It's it's an EFAP meme, like super chat. He'll super chat every episode saying, "Have you considered doing a Long Kong where they go through all the Hong Kong and Godzilla films?"
Oh, no.
So that's where I know that from. No, but she's good. I mean, the way we introduced her as well, she's like very, very busy, working on the phone, having a go at someone, walks into the classroom with the teacher and a child, and she just says the S word. Naughty. Not very good.
Very naughty indeed.
Yeah. And that's where she finds out that her kid might have psychic powers. You don't really know at this point because he's drawn pictures of I believe it was his cousin drowning, who was the person who died in the not epilogue, prologue. And so, Rachel's just like, oh, it might just be his grieving process. And the one was like, nah, he drew this a week ago.
I do really like in this that she is a bit of a state. Like it's quite the antidote to the Sex and the City, like fab metropolitan life, in that she's, she feels a bit more realistic. She is struggling to manage everything. She's got this kid she kind of does neglect. She leaves just because he's got this weird reserve and independence that she kind of says, okay, I can leave him to do his own thing, and I'll do my journalism thing.
Yeah.
But it does have its impacts, and I quite like that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a thing I enjoyed throughout the film. It's like, oh, these two seem to like each other but couldn't make it work. I hope they live happily ever after. Which, you know, spoiler for everyone in chat. My expectations for that were thoroughly subverted. This Ryan Johnson made pretty good.
Nice.
I'm not gonna lie. The Ryan Johnsoning sounds like an insult. They did Ryan Johnson well then. Yeah, because she gets a bit weirded out by this and starts wanting to investigate, basically. Hence this work bit.
She's asked to investigate by her aunt. Her sister, her kid's aunt, the mother of the victim, which I think is pretty good, pretty interesting. If you want to throw a bit of a snide comment at the Japanese original, there is a bit of a contrivance in that she is already investigating the cursed videotype when she finds out that her niece has died. So you can say like, oh, what are the chances of that? But you know, in this one, I kind of like it a bit more that she's got that more natural link to it. She wasn't already investigating the story. She was a little hesitant to touch it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's established in that scene that like she might even be struggling to keep her job as well. That you've got up. It was really, it was a weird scene though, and isn't it Brian Cox as the playing the J Jonah Jameson part? What do you call it?
No. Brian Cox is right at the end, quite randomly.
Right.
I did find this scene very weird. Like I noted that this it's not long, but this is 10 minutes longer than the Japanese one.
Yeah, it really didn't need to be.
Yeah, I think it's scenes like this can kind of be taken out. It's a weird thing that is there to basically establish her as, I think, super competent in the journalism realm. But we never see this office again. We never see this boss again. So
yeah, you don't really need to either because of what happens for the rest of the film. You can understand why she doesn't go back to work, we'll say. But the whole funeral scene's pretty good, but it's more just to set up getting Rachel on the railroad to the investigation. But the kid keeps acting really weird.
The kid annoyed me.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting. Okay.
It was like the film couldn't decide if the kid was actually like had psychic powers or not, which it turns out he doesn't. But then it's like, well, why? Because when you have psychic kids, they do tend to act older than they are. But this kid was what, 7, 8, and he's talking like a smart ass 18-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bit of a tradition in that. I'm quite the Thomas Hardy fan, and he reminded me very much of the old Father Time character in Jude the Obscure. There's quite a history of these like maudlin kids, but you are not wrong about the psychic element. That is something it's very present in the Japanese one. I mean, I see Poe in the chat. I know, Poe, you must have seen the original Japanese. I have a feeling you did. Let me know if I'm right. But in that one, like, there's a lot of psychic stuff going on, but it's also more muted. Like, you get the feeling that the reason that the marriage broke up between Asakawa and Ryuji, the original characters, is because Ryuji is psychic and he is.
Sorry.
What?
No, it's not you. It's just like Poe's corrected her previous post, and do you know what? I didn't even read it, but she said turdified.
Oh no. Oh, Poe, I thought you'd have been an absolute cert to have watched the original. Never mind. Well, Highly recommended.
Oh, I
She's not a
completely missed that.
weeb.
So, yeah, so the implication is Ryuji kind of is more withdrawn because he is psychic, but it's not in a like Stranger Things kind of way. It's more just that it's a very sort of Shinto vibe where he's just aware of spirits.
Right.
You know, he's not floating anything. He's not doing anything impressive like that. He just sort of senses when spirits are around, and it's really understated, but it does make his life difficult. He's very worried that he's passed it down to his kid, which he has, but it also chimes because you find out that the mother of Sadako, so she's renamed Samara in the American remake, but the mother of Sadako is psychic, and her life gets sort of turned upside down by journalists when she tries to do a demonstration of her powers. Poe, yes, very, very much like The Shining. It's low-key stuff. In the original, it's not used for anything more than like kind of extreme empathy. So Ryuji is kind of a better investigator than the female protagonist, because he can actually really get a sense of secrets people are keeping, and he knows how to ask insightful questions. And sometimes he, when he makes physical contact, he can sort of access their memories. But it never gets flashier than that, and that in itself is just a way of giving us a very visual bit of storytelling.
But on the other hand, Naomi Watts is pretty hot in this film. So,
well, the protagonist of the original is I mean, not to do that kind of analysis, but you know, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I also think the dad is a fair bit smoking in the original, but I appreciate I won't get much support for that on the panel.
Do you have yellow fever?
I am vast and contain multitudes. Okay. He's a total Chad, by the way. He even slaps her. You'd love it.
Oh, based.
Yeah, she's getting out of line.
Pretty based.
Getting out of line, and he anyway.
The Sean Connery answer.
So,
you're well
once she's bought in, she basically goes investigating the murder, and then she fairly quickly, via I think some pretty good investigating, gets her hands on the cursed videotape. What did you think of her investigating skills, Haryan?
I think she did absolutely everything I would have done. Get the photos developed from the trip, find that she finds that picture where they've got all the sorted faces and she can't work out why, and then it's like, oh well, they went to this cabin, let's go see what happened there, because obviously that kid's saying, oh, it was the video they watched that was the issue, and obviously she doesn't believe it, but it's like, it's a lead and it's better than anything else you've got, because the coroners are like, yeah, we have no idea why she died. And as a journalist, kind of you investigate everything. So
can we just take a moment to acknowledge that the teenager who was giving away all this exposition was Adam Brody?
Waifu noticed this. I didn't know who this guy was.
So he's in I think it's the OC, like a American TV show, but he's in all sorts of stuff. He's in the Shazam movies as well. He's one of the like other Shazams, because there's quite a few of them apparently in the first one, but he's one of them. But yeah, he's quite a name. It's quite a name apparently. But yeah, because I recognised him instantly. I was like, hold on a minute. So yeah, just wanted to get that out there.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know if, because I didn't think, because as well, you see on the shelf, like all the videotapes are in cases bar one, and it's like, I think, doesn't she even ask, like, did they take this video, or either way, you can assume that if you're talking about a mysterious video, it's probably not got a case, and and that's the first one I check, and it just so happened she was right. So she goes to the cabin, has a look around, and it's like, would you watch the tape? It's like, well, you think it's an old wives' tale, so sure, why not? And then it's some of the creepiest stuff I've seen in my life. It's described in the film as an art house movie or student movie or something like that, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's all very abstract. It's like MCS made a little 2-minute clip, in my opinion. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. They made you wait a while for it before you saw the actual videotape. They knew how to build up that anticipation.
Yeah, because I think you can see in this screen, but it's kind of like there's red going through the curtains, and that becomes important later. Which is, now that we're going, well, I'm going through the film obviously as well again as we speak, but it's kind of like this is one of those films that's worth rewatching, because you pick up on these things again. It's not quite Fight Club worth rewatching, but it's, you know, it's not bad. I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, then she finishes the film, phone goes off, 7 days, and then yeah, you'd probably be turdified.
It's a notably longer curse video than the Japanese one.
I know, right? It's quite a considerate curse when you think about it. It gives you enough time just to get your shit in order, but before popping your clogs,
no,
you know?
TCG.
Sorry.
No. Oh, you dropped a super chat. I'll let you off. You're allowed to besmirch the stream with these swear words.
Naughty.
Yeah, it's a much longer cursed video. A lot more sort of visceral imagery. Like the one that really got me was the thing being pulled out of the mouth.
Yeah. Do you know what it was for me?
Yeah.
It was the for me it was the finger being pushed through the nail.
Oh, the nail one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't like that. I didn't know. The creepiest one for me was, I thought they were cows at first, but they turned out to be horses, but just dead horses on a beach. Like, I was like, oh, what is going on? And then you get a millipede, and then the flashing maggots, and I'm like, oh, this is grim.
Yes, I think a somewhat unfortunate CGI millipede, but we can.
To be fair, I didn't even notice, so fair enough.
Okay, that's fine. The one I really loved was there's an overhead shot of, after the maggots, you see some another overhead shot where there's lots of swarming, and you then realize that if you really can't tell, but basically it's a whole load of naked people.
Yes.
Like hundreds of them.
Oh, yeah.
And oh my gosh, I love that. It's like, that to me is just like this vision of hell. And when I see that, I think of that group of people as like all the victims of, in this case, Samara. I want to just call her Sadako. But
well, you can do, but you'd be wrong.
I would. It's Samara Morgan, and not Sadako Yamamura. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, God, there was a box of human fingers as well. Like, oh.
Yep.
Yeah. This was a grim video. Effective horror, I'd say.
Nicely judged. Now, I'm torn. They take different approaches to tracking down exactly what is in the video, but this is what everything's set up around, and I like that they do take different approaches to this. But here is your disturbing footage. You've got to go from this string of unrelated disturbing images, Trent Reznor's furiously making notes while watching. Feel like, I'll have that one. Good. You having to work out where the heck this comes from. That is a wonderfully intriguing thread. In the Japanese, there is a different route taken. So they have some audio on the sound. Audio on the sound. there's some audio on the video that Ryuji manages to pick up, and it's a proverb within a fairly specific dialect from Izu province. When she's doing the investigating earlier, someone mentions that they heard the rumor started in Izu. And there's footage of the kanji for eruption. And that gets some Googling and finding out that there was a volcano eruption in Izu, which was predicted by Sadako's mother. And that's basically how they get onto the thread in the Japanese version. Very different approach to this one.
Yeah.
Which
This one sounds better.
Well, it's a different approach. I think I have my problem with it, but it's also kind of a cool use of the technology. The idea that the average person wouldn't know how to adjust the tracking the way she does. Or is it his idea, actually? Is it Noah's idea? Oh, sorry. I also forgot to mention, I love the thing they do where they just basically do the countdowns.
Yeah, it reminds me of Zelda Majora's Mask, where it's like dawn of the third day.
JC, I have good news for you. That is our film next week.
Oh, sweet, Nick Cage.
Yes. I just thought I had to say, I like that. If people are saying that, then clearly the arc theme holds together well.
There you go. You didn't just pay JC to pop that in the chat there just to solidify your argument.
I did not. Yeah, here we go. The color grading here is extremely strong, but I can kind of work with it. She's also a bit of an arse to him in this scene, did you think?
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, I get she's trying to rush the investigation, but it's like just leave it to the expert. But she is very hands-on as well, I suppose. So I'm like, I was annoyed at her, but I was like, I guess that's a character, to be fair. Because she got him to watch it as well, which I was like, if she's that scared, would she get him to watch it? I don't know about that.
Well, he was quite insistent on it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
If only he was that insistent on being a dad. But there we go.
Yeah, he kind of, that's his character arc. Tail mentions as well, the blurry photos, the face gets distorted after you've seen the video as well.
It's a really nice thing that is carried over from the original. Just a great visual of when someone is under the curse or not.
Yeah, and there's because in my old school there were pictures, they were like old school pictures, and obviously some kids in the old days would like swirl their head around in the bad cameras. They kind of look distorted like that. And now that I think back to that, I'm like, oh, they might, their hearts might have just randomly stopped.
Some of the footage of the face distortion, I really loved it when he's in the
store.
In the store, and he's watching his face be distorted on camera. I thought that looked amazing. It really reminded me of Possessor.
Yeah, that was brilliant because that for me wasn't that the point where he sort of realised this is actually real. Because he was a bit sceptical up to that point, wasn't he? And it wasn't until he saw the CCTV footage back at him. He was like, oh crap, because he phones her up, doesn't he? And he's like, yeah, I believe you.
It's something the film does so well is have those countdowns, have you so set on this, like it's 7 days, you've got 6 days left, you've got this blurring to show the sign of the curse. They later have Rachel have these intensifying dreams as a way of you sort of working really well within the logic of the world, but having the curse of Sadako on her and having her have a sort of stronger psychic presence in her life, which then manifests when Samara actually just physically grabs hold of her in a dream and leaves a physical mark.
Yeah.
Just it's a lovely way of getting you a little scare in there, but also giving you the visual reminder that you need to know that the curse is on and her time is running out. It's really good storytelling. I love it.
Yeah, and I found it weird that she made a copy of the tape. I think now that I'm rewatching it, kind of in the background, I'm kind of getting why it's. I mean, you don't want to lose the original, and obviously they're gonna mess about with it, going through the editing stuff, and I guess that can damage it. Because that's where because when she's copying it, the time code's screwing up, and he basically says, "Well, that's like there should be a time code if it was recorded, but it appears that it wasn't recorded." So we need to find out how, because it's like being born without fingerprints, he put it. And I'm like, oh, that's like, I don't know how true any of that is, but I buy it. Yeah, and that's when they then find another thing in the video where it's, oh, there seems to be another image seeping through, that shouldn't be happening. And, oh, you should see a camera in the reflection if with that angle, but you don't. So, you know, the plot thickens. That's the best way to put it. And then we meet Noah's like partner in crime, as she put it. It like you kind of only see her like once.
She's in this and then at the end, but it's a fair bit more blatant that he's how can I say, in a typical academic fashion, a little too close to one of his students. You kind of have that dynamic in the Japanese original, but it's not blatant. It's you know, that may be happening, or the character might just be his sort of star pupil. Yeah, it's hard to say.
But yeah,
as you say, with the copy, it's a nice way of dropping in extra knowledge about how the tape is basically impossible and shouldn't be able to exist, whilst also setting up that later plot twist about how you avoid the curse. So just approving this. This is good storytelling. We like it. I've not really got much to criticize with the plot at the moment. I was enjoying it, which is an added bonus. But because it's a really good film for this, because it's a detective story plus you are going to die if you don't work it out. It's like, man, the stakes are there, and I really like horror that's based around kind of 5 or 6 characters. I mean, they managed to up the stakes organically as well.
Oh yeah. Because she leaves there, and then she sees the ladder when she leaves, doesn't she? And she's being freaked out by it. And it's like, man, I really empathise with Rachel here. And then, but the film did a thing I didn't like at this point, where it kind of repeated the clip from the tape of the ladder, and I was like, you don't need to do that. Like, have respect for your audience a bit more. But then, the later on you go, it made more sense for them to do that. And I guess if they didn't do that here, it'd be a bit jarring. So I guess this sets up that we're going to remind you of this stuff. Don't worry. Which I guess in a 2-hour film, that's fair enough. So kind of forgive this on there.
Yeah, it also does the really good thing of setting this up that the timer is now running on her kid as well.
Oh yeah, with when she goes back and sees him.
It's like you've all this brilliant piling on of the pressure. I should add a historical note here. VHSs were totally ubiquitous. Like, they were under threat by DVDs, but I'd say it was still pretty standard that you'd go for a VHS, just because DVDs were super expensive. I think in 2002, you're a little bit off from having the sort of cheaper versions be available. So you would get sites like, what were they? Play.com would get you the cheap DVDs. You know, you could pick one up for £9 or something with 0 extras on it. But otherwise, you're paying. What do you reckon? You're paying over £20 a go for a proper DVD.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were.
Back
Yeah,
in
they were.
2002.
Yeah, they were about 20 quid at the time, because obviously it was quite the niche thing, wasn't it? I don't know where you were getting your DVDs from though. I used to get mine from a North Korean chap.
Yeah, classic. Well, I sat in a few London pubs, and you know, a Chinese lady comes in with a backpack full of dodgy DVDs. It's like, but on the other hand, a quid a go. So
No, you can't argue with that.
no, it's a good deal, good deal. But in comparison, I got Scream from this year. I got the Blu-ray arrived today, and that was only 14 quid with all the extras and everything. It's very, very strong deflationary price on the old technology there. Oh, I can I can see that advert in my head right now. It had the clips from Mars Attacks in it.
Yes. Oh my god. Yes, I remember that.
I forgot VHSs had adverts. I think we had a Men in Black one that had like an advert for Domino's, and that just seems really weird to me. Yeah. It might have been pizza. It was one or the other. I always used to find that weird. But
DVDs still have that horrible thing where like you can't skip their adverts sometimes, whereas VHS it can't stop you. You
wouldn't steal a car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
But these things always confuse the heck out of me because it was an advert on a VHS telling you how amazing DVD picture quality was, and it was trying to show you the quality difference.
Yeah, on a VHS.
You can't show me DVD quality on a VHS. You can't. That makes no sense.
Look how much crisper it is on a DVD. It's like, yes, thank you for demonstrating that on a VHS.
Yes, minor mind screw there. So, sorry, we built up how they've got the tension in. I did want to probe one thing though. We talked about how they find the thread of getting onto Sadako Yamamura, but the thread of how they track down Samara Morgan. What did you think of that?
About what? Which bit?
So when she's doing the investigating, what did you think of how she found her way to Samara Morgan?
Oh, you mean when she's doing the whole research bit? Do you know what? What was quite? Do you know what?
She found Anna first, didn't she?
Yeah.
And then through there, I found it really interesting, and I don't know if this was intentional in the movie or not, because obviously again at this time you had your DVDs, you had your VHS, almost like the Monday Night Wars of the time. But then you also had her doing research and using more modern methods such as Google searching or whatever the equivalent was back in 2002, AOL I guess. But then also going into the archives and digging out all the old books with all the dust on top. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I felt like that was quite cool because she managed to get the crucial information from the old methods, the old big books, the old newspaper clippings,
libraries
cool.
And stuff. Yeah.
Like I said, it's got a weirdly kind of pre-internet feel, not in the sense of not just because VHSs, but kind of similar to Neo using floppy disks in the Matrix. I know I've used that example over and over again. Or the old flip phones in Matrix Reloaded.
Hey, don't knock flip phone. I actually have a flip phone now. It's a smartphone, but it's a flip phone.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yes.
Well, here's the thing. I was dangling a line out there just to see if anyone would take the bait, but okay, I'll try it. I'll try this. I was not super happy with her finding a lighthouse, the specific lighthouse that she saw when she messed with the tracking by looking in the big book of lighthouses.
The big book of British smile.
Again, I didn't have too much of a problem with that because again, she's looking at a really old book and looking at the tape, the footage that was on there, did seem to be quite dated. So it kind of made sense that she would go back and look at the big book of American lighthouses, I suppose. But yeah, I personally didn't have a. But I would have had more of an issue perhaps if she just Googled it and found it on the image section of that. So yeah, again, return to tradition, I guess. Return to Nokia brick. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think it's just how reliant we've become on Google these days. Really, I don't think it's out of, because bear in mind she'll have grown up not using search engines.
Still wasn't really a thing, I suppose.
Yeah. So and it's like, library. Do you have any books on lighthouses in America? It's like, yeah, here's about 20 of them. And she read through like 5 of them, and then she finally happened upon the page, because she's going off pictures anyway. It doesn't really take that long. And I mean, if you Google image search, American lighthouses, and I don't even know if Google had image search at that point.
Well, I don't
wasn't
even think. I'll say it would have been like, what, Ask Jeeves.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So it makes a lot more sense to go to a library in that case, I'd say. It might just be how dated it is, but that's fine. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's a film based in 2002. It's a good way to then get the story going, because then she looks into Anna Morgan. Did you find that when she went through all the history and she finally found the name Anna Morgan, it's got it on screen, Anna Morgan, but then she says, "There you are, Annie Morgan."
No, I didn't.
I thought that was a bit weird. Because I went back through it again just to be like, oh, why did she say Annie?
I missed that.
I know, but I mean, it's a tiny thing. But then she finds out all about the horses dying and the Morgans. Basically, it's had issues about a few years ago. Oh, that's weird. The subtitles actually do say Anna Morgan, so I might have misheard it. But it sounded like Annie to me. And then she does actually use Google and finds all about the horses, which isn't a turn I was expecting from the film. I didn't expect to have a load of stuff about horses in, but there we go. That's what I get for going to a horse show at the weekend. I literally can't. Literally this year, it's been like every other weekend's been like horse mad. It's been great. Because this is kind of just a montage of find out about the island, find out about the horses, find out about Anna Morgan. What happened to her? Oh, she went to the psychiatric hospital, and then it's like, oh, where do we go from there? Oh, let's go there then. And then we have the scene you mentioned before with Hugo. Why did I say Hugo? What's his name?
Brian Cox?
No. The long-haired guy.
Oh,
Noah.
Noah, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got
this
Hugo
is the
from.
classic we never remember character name.
Yeah. But yeah, we have the scene with him in the store, and then he's saying, "I believe you. Let's find it." And it's like day 4. And we also missed the scene where she went to see the dead girl's friend, who's now in a psychiatric ward herself and has a fear of TVs, which I really like that detail.
We were noticing a thing like in this one. I wasn't sure when she actually picked up on the video story. Like, it seemed like she got that thread off screen.
Yeah,
video story.
Like the whole idea of the video, the cursed video.
Oh no, it's at the funeral. What the one the kid says it, like tells her the story of the video.
Okay.
No, because she was in a because
sure?
they mentioned that she was in a mental hospital afterwards, because they were like, oh, you don't have that kind of reaction after seeing someone with a stroke. What also bugged me as well that she did seem to kind of be psychic in that moment as well, because she just, without any sort of mentioning beforehand, she's like, what happens? She's like, you'll know, and then she takes Naomi Watts' hand and sort of like puts her
4
thumb
days,
in, and then she goes, in 4 days. It's like, great, so you're a psychic now too, or you're like connected somehow. Like, can we explain that?
So, I guess, but
yeah, she does have the ability to like show people things, as the kid puts it. How she chooses who she shows what, I don't know, but it seems to just be whoever's seen the tape, she now can like have talk to their friends.
Yeah, but I was to say, but that girl who's in the mental hospital didn't see the tape because she was the one being told about it. I mean, I
think
can understand.
She just sees the aftermath and possibly sees Sadako take her friend, but either way, she's very scarred from it. It's a scene that does not exist in the Japanese original, and I kept expecting it to turn up, but not so much. We also get on the way to the island something I've talked about before that I really liked about the remake is that we get an extra action scene, which kind of helps with the pacing and is very welcome. This is the extra horse scene.
Oh, I thought this was stupid.
Did you actually watch this with Cash? Because I imagine she won't have.
No.
My wife didn't like this scene. Because she was like, "Oh my god, no!" So I'm like, "It's CGI." So are you sure? I'm like, "Yeah, it's CGI." Donk, donk, donk.
Yeah, I thought.
I can confirm. I'm going to cash this excuse in, guys. Okay. If I stop making sense, it's waifu's fault. Anyway, carry on.
Although I will say the CGI was pretty good.
Yeah.
For 2002, I mean, it convinced my wife, and I was like, no, it's definitely CGI. Yes, I'm definitely sure. I hope.
Yeah, they knew not to stick with it for too long. Like they did. The sensible thing of just show what you need to really quickly, and don't stick around far too long because people will notice. Yeah. So Haryan, you didn't like this scene. Tell me about that.
No, it was. I couldn't stop laughing from like the start to finish with the horse. Because I get it. Like the horse was getting really skittish around her because Samara doesn't like horses, and so kind of it's her power going through her because she's got the curse and all that. I got that. And it's like, okay, the trailer's poorly maintained, so it escapes and it kicks the door out to escape and get out. And I'm like, yeah, that's all fine, but then it's like the horse is going nuts running around and like no one knows how to stop it. It's like, okay, fine, like this is good. I wouldn't say I was entertained by it. I'd say I'm just like, you don't need to show me this much. And then it gets to the end where I couldn't stop laughing when it just jumped off the boat. Yeah. And I'm like, that is just hilarious. Why did you show me all that?
But not only that as well, but just the whole agitation of the horse at the beginning as well. Anyway, because Naomi Watts obviously goes over, she starts stroking it, and it gets a bit wound up, and then she's like, "Yo, no, calm down." It's like, just leave it alone, walk away.
I really didn't need to bother.
Read the room.
And then the woman comes down the stairs. She's like, "Oh, my horse."
Oh yeah.
Now knowing some horse owners now, absolutely none of them would say that. They basically treat their horses like kids or any other pet. You'd shout their name to make sure like you get their attention, like calm them down or get them to stay and all that. You wouldn't just say, "Oh my god, my horse! Someone else stop it." It's like, nah, this is my kid. I'll get it. So that was a bit weird, but then it just runs off the edge of the ferry, and I'm like, oh. but the CGI just made it look really funny because it like hits the side twice, and then they go the other side. It's like a whole thing of blood, and I'm like, did it need to be that bad? Do we need to have it being chopped up by the propellers? Do we need that full scene?
I think they did need to for pacing and shaking it up a bit. I mean, I can see what you're saying. It worked for me, but I'm not going to blame anyone for whom that did not work.
Yeah. It's because it was really jarring as well, seeing like the horse trying to swim, and then it gets his head and then it just gets dragged under the boat. And I'm not sure how it does that because it's not. It shouldn't really do that till it gets anywhere close to the propellers, and even then the propellers are kind of far enough under the boat that shouldn't really happen. So, but then you just get like red water, and I'm like, oh my god, it died. And I didn't feel anything bad for the horse. I hope Tash isn't listening.
Well, that's getting clipped, and you're in trouble.
Oh no.
We get these signs going on as she investigates of it taking an effect. Like, I like these little creepy moments. Who doesn't love a creepy little kid in horror? Always good.
True.
got big Wes
Oh, yeah.
Craven's New Nightmare vibes. You know, the old spooky photos and him getting the sort of psychic link with Sadako going on here, getting the visions, which is just a great way of doing that lovely bit of foreshadowing. Love it. And
Yeah.
as she's doing the investigation, it just gains power because of the foreshadowing setup in the video. There are so many little things that seem absolutely rando, but because they're in the video, suddenly they gain power because Rachel recognizes them.
Yeah, and it's things like this as well where they flash kind of the reminder from the tape, and I'm like, you know what, I'm all right with this now. Because it's kind of like you're seeing things through her eyes, which is what makes this film really effective, I think. So.
Yes, yeah. There's kind of a predestination thing going on here, which I'm not totally sure how I feel about. Like, I like the idea that basically anyone should be able to solve the puzzle of the ring, but it doesn't bother to me too much. It's a lot stronger in the Japanese version, but that theme is not present. There's actually, like, thematically, one of the things I find most interesting is there is such a gap between the themes and symbolism of the Japanese version and this one. So the Japanese is very concerned with sort of the impact of technology on tradition and on their society. So you've got the fact that the threat is in the form of technology and the way it spreads out of control, furthered by technology. But you also see that there's conflict with older characters who literally dress in the old Japanese style. So when they get to Izu province, the guy is wearing the, what's it called? Forgive me if I get it wrong, but he's wearing a yukata, his wife is wearing yukata. They're clearly in an izakaya, sort of old traditional inn. He never wears modern clothes the whole time. The last remaining relative of Sadako. And you do see this strong clash of literally the old Japan and modernity. And there's that kind of anxiety about the impact of technology on the old Japanese lifestyle is nicely enunciated. But that is just... I'm holding off. Yeah. I'm holding off, Fez. When we do Arlington Road, I'm just going to unleash, okay?
I was going to say, it sounds like you prefer that one because it's got the Uncle Ted reading.
No. I think it's interesting. Like, it's just something that you can do so clearly by literally just having a character dress in the old style, meeting characters who are dressing in the modern, slightly more westernized style.
Yeah.
And that's in there. Whereas I don't think we have that in the American version. I did wonder if they were trying to get a little bit onto the sort of, I guess, fairly standard impact of what kids view. You know, I thought especially like the parents' alarm at having brought dangerous material into the house that her child ended up seeing. But I think that's kind of a stretch, and that's not really intended. Like thematically,
sorry, I missed that last bit. Sorry.
That's okay. I was just basically saying I don't think there is a really strong sort of theme in the American one. It's just focused on telling the good story, telling the good atmosphere, but the thematics, if they're in there, are basically the strongest thread I can pick up on is about the sort of stresses modernity places on families.
I don't even think it's modernity. I think it's just general stresses that, and especially when you've got one, you know, one parent that wants a child and another that doesn't, because there's a clear parallel there with the
Yeah.
what's he called, with Richard Morgan not saying my wife should never have got pregnant, and then obviously Noah and Rachel, you know, they were estranged, but by the end they want to get together.
Both Richard and Noah basically drop the kids off and don't keep involved.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's definitely in there. I thought this was kind of neatly symbolized with Richard. Oh gosh, where have I got it? There we go. I kind of love this, that it basically decides to maroon Samara up in what kind of looks like a dollhouse room.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the strongest things in this film, is just the visuals are incredible.
Man,
they're not super unrealistic. They're just lovely and stylish.
I felt so sad for that little girl.
Yeah.
When they went up there, it reminded me. It reminded me. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Typhoid Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of that. I mean, the stuff that was going on around the farm. Yeah, she was causing it, but you know, it wasn't her fault. It wasn't like it was intentional.
She was just crying for help, basically.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
you will curse everyone around you if you that child. I mean, in real life, you have like a child who is neglected and all that. They're not going to grow up to be particularly good. Good people. I mean, they can be, obviously. I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, but
it don't help though, does it?
Yeah, but basically, what this film is saying is that kids need their dads. It's a based message. Exactly.
Well, it is kind of based. Like, they have a strong family, and you kind of love it. It's not making it easy, but it is saying it's important, and the dad is on his way to a redemption arc that I love. But there's also a little snide thing in here about, like, he does just leave her with a TV. So there's kind of a vibe about, like, you do need to be careful around what your kids are able to access, which is maybe a bit of a boomer message, but I kind of like it.
Well, I mean, it was her only access to the outside world as well, so she'd have a really, really screwed up image of what humans are like, because, you know, TV isn't real. It's obviously got to emulate real life, but she wouldn't have any social skills, would she? That's probably why she tries to kill everyone.
Well, the film is, like, weirdly based in that it does just ultimately come out at the end after all of this and say, oh no, she was just evil. It's much more ambiguous in the Japanese. Like, is she just protecting her mum and wasting journalists because of that?
And this one's just like, no, everyone has to hear her, otherwise. Yeah. Which is pretty good. And I mean, we're obviously not up to that scene yet, but it even makes her father just be like, nah, no more of this, thanks.
Oh yeah,
I am done. But yeah, I mean, I like all the investigation leading up to this as well, because she's obviously doing her interviews around the island, and what's he called? Noah is. I really like Noah's character in this, where you know, when he's in the psychiatric ward and he's saying, you know, someone in my family, I need to get their records from 20 odd years ago, and they're like, no, you're not family. It's like, well, I've been up there before, I've seen him before, and the other guy goes, nice, try that downstairs. And he's like, yeah. And then he breaks in and goes downstairs, and I'm like, oh, that is really cool. That is really smart. I appreciate that.
I absolutely loved his arc. He exactly as you say, he took a gamble and it didn't work, and he was like, I'm resourceful anyway. And then he meets this guy, who I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
This guy is hilarious. He just there aren't many jokes in The Ring, but this guy was very welcome for just being hilarious, and Noah sort of lying and then catching himself in a for people who didn't manage to do the viewing, Noah manages to sweet talk his way into getting access to Samara's medical records, and talks to this orderly who is extremely fastidious about his system. So Noah's lied, said he's Samara's dad, and then finds out that the actual father, Richard Morgan, took the videotapes that he's after and did not return them. Noah is now in the crap with this guy, and it's a nice light comedic moment that's handled really nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I think he says, "Oh, it's you" as a joke. 'Cause he knows he's lying. He knows he's not her actual dad, but he does just open it, sees it empty, and he's like, "Now I'm mad."
It's a great little moment. This guy really, he livens it up a bit, and then we do actually get to see a little bit of like they dole it out very gently. We do not see a lot of Samara in the film. Like the build up to actually seeing her is fantastic.
Yeah, this is actually pretty much the first time you kind of see her properly, rather than just a glimpse on the screen. Because she does go back and happens to find the tape. I don't think she's been told about this tape, but it's already in the tape player, so she's like, "Oh, I'll just play it." And yeah, it's Samara being really weird. Never sleeping, and then the doctor's like, because what's he called? Noah finds these images as well that are like kind of X-ray scans, but they've got like kids' toys and things like that. And he's
projections onto film, just psychic projections.
Yeah, and the guy's like, "How do you make them?" And she's like, "I don't. I just think, and they become."
Yeah, that if I'm not mistaken was part of the theme behind the Japanese version, wasn't it? Was it the main protagonist? He studies some sort of like science not science, but
I can help on that. So
thank you.
It's one of the big differences is in this version, it's very mysterious where Samara came from. Seeing as James asked about it, I'll give the lore here. So in this version, you find out almost nothing about Samara at all. Where she even comes from is mysterious. She probably isn't even the biological daughter of Anna Morgan. In the original Ringu, she is the daughter of... I'm terribly sorry. What is her name? Sorry. Shizuko Yamamura. She is her daughter, but Shizuko is a psychic who's obsessed with the sea, and it's most likely a sort of Shinto thing where the spirit of the ocean has basically impregnated Shizuko, and a researcher in psychic.
Sorry, carry on.
Blasphemous. How can you in Easter week? Shocking. Sorry. So this investigator into psychic affairs finds out somehow about Shizuko and has an affair with her, and then wants to sort of bolster his career by proving she's legit, and arranges a psychic demonstration that journalists attend. But even though she demonstrates her powers, that she's able to show psychic ability, the journos aren't having it, and they kick off and start abusing her, and she gets very scared. And her daughter, Sadako, then starts wasting journalists. But it's a lot more and so Shizuko kills herself. She throws herself into the volcano whose eruption she predicts. And in the Japanese one, then it's the psychic researcher who ends up killing Sadako instead of in the American, where it's the mother who kills her.
Yeah.
But yes, it's quite ambiguous in both of them, to be honest. If you watch the Ring prequel, you get some more details. It involves twins, it involves hermaphrodism, and a little bit of that Harvey Weinstein energy. But I can't necessarily say I'd recommend it. It's very confusing, and it adds a lot more detail, but I'm not sure I came away understanding it any better. Oh yeah, yes, you know what I'm talking about. It's quite understated, to be honest. I think you can basically miss that whole aspect. But I haven't seen the Ring prequel in a very long time. Sorry, so there's a little diversion into the lore there. Should we maybe? She's actually gone back to the Morgans' ranch to see the footage here, which is probably a good move into some fantastic Brian Cox energy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, while she's watching this, I couldn't quite tell the first time I watched it, but to her right, there's a bit of a cupboard, and it looked like someone was just standing there that she just never notices. But then obviously later, I can't tell if it's just a coat rack or something, but it really looks like a person's just stood next to her. And then later on, obviously, you get the flash of Richard Morgan being behind her, who just, for lack of a better term, well, I was going to say TW4 teaser, but smacks her with a bridle and a bit that's actually metal. And I was like, oh, I felt that. It leaves a bit of a mark as well. It's like kind of a lot of horror films that kind of be like, oh, you need to hit her like 4 times, and then she like doesn't have a mark. This one's just like, nah, once, and all he's there for is the TV, because he's off to commit forever sleep in a bath.
I do have.
That is very algorithm friendly. Well done.
Yeah, that was pretty good. The only issue I have with that particular scene is how quickly Noah gets to the house. That's the only issue I have.
Oh, true. Actually, yeah, he does kind of teleport. I guess
there is a decent question on why he hits her. Like, he's not really angry with her.
I took it as a kind of, he did that to stop her from stopping him from killing himself. That's what and he is kind of annoyed at her, because he's like, oh, he's kind of blaming her for making this decision, because he says, oh, she'll always come back. You coming here proves that. So it's kind of a bit of both. I mean, I get why he hit her. I probably would.
What Haryan is trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that this abuse was justified. This was justified abuse.
I'm from the Sean Connery school of slap the women if they're being hysterical and reminding you of their daughter. But yeah, you know what? I didn't notice that actually. Yeah, no, it does kind of come out of nowhere, and it feels like he got there a bit too fast. But yeah, then they check the barn and find the loft room. It's
a pretty brutal death for Brian Cox here, who brings a lot more class than we might have expected. You know, he does a really good job in this, and his end is sudden, very brutal. But also, again, it's this film not doing the expected thing. So there's not blood everywhere. It's nasty and violent, but it's not super bloody. It's just kind of disturbing, really.
Yeah,
it's effective. I agree with James. Yeah, I agree with James. It was one of the best versions of Self
Forever Sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also notice, like, Rachel just being clever. Like, she knows what's going on. She sees the threat. She's in the puddle, and then she makes sure to step out of the water. She basically knows what's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, she doesn't even try and stop him. She's like, nope, I will go down with him if that happens.
And this film it's just got such good visuals here. I know this is quite a cluttered frame, but it speaks to that sense of sort of chaos and frustration. You know,
he wanted to make sure he wasn't surviving as well, which is very good. Yeah, and in that loft room as well, they find the burnt tree on the wall, obviously done by Samara, because she does have these weird powers. And what was the flashback we had? Because we had a flashback with what's she called? Rachel
Anna?
being grabbed by
Rachel.
her. Rachel being grabbed by her, and I can't. What happens in that flashback?
Is that the? Oh, that's not the bit where she gets pushed down the well, is it?
No,
She
that's
has
later.
the
That's the last
flashback. Well, she first gets grabbed when she's having a dream about going around her sister's house.
Oh yeah. And she wakes up, doesn't she? Because doesn't she think she's dying or something? I can't remember the details.
She
of that.
coughs up a chest monitor, which is just one of these very memorable, nasty bits of imagery. Again, just kudos. I mean, I flashed this image up here just to kind of show you how beautiful the Ring is. It's so gorgeously shot. It's very artistic. The Japanese one is very naturalistic and understated. They're just very different ways of shooting the story. But I've got to say, I do appreciate how uncommonly gorgeous the Ring is.
Oh yeah. And they were kind of like, oh, burning bush. What's that? Oh, that'll be. Oh, I remember that. That's when the first place I looked at, because when the sun was setting, it went through autumn leaves and it was looked like it was burning. And I'm like, you know what? That's pretty good. I can see why you'd go there.
You get the feeling, the feeling I get is that actually this was kind of meant for her to solve.
Yeah.
That so many of the images were so specific to the journey she would go on.
Yeah. Which works because Samara's whole end game is that what's she called? Rachel finds out what the curse is, and then she does what she wants, which is make sure that everyone who sees this makes a copy and shows it to someone else within 7 days. And it's like, oh, neat. That's and otherwise you die. I mean, that's quite the incentive. Because then they go to the cabin, and she's basically like, look, you're gonna have to like work this out because I'm gonna die in like 5 minutes, which he just doesn't accept. Goes on a mad one. It's like something's got to be in this room. So it's like a bowl of marbles or something. He like puts to the ground as he's destroying the rest of the room, and that's. I mean, I thought this was pretty coincidental, but also quite clever with the marbles where they all go into the little groove under the table. And it's like, oh god, what's under that? So he hacks it open. Oh, there's a well, and they kind of work out. Oh, that will be where she died then. And then
Waifu was very upset that they managed to move the absolutely massive stone lid off.
Yeah,
I can go with that.
Two of you could probably push it off. I don't. How heavy would that stone be? I'm the geologist. I should know.
I was saying, I imagine it would have been quite heavy. Surely it was a big old.
I reckon it's movable with 2 people.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a. It did remind me of Final Destination, where she like the TV turns on, water comes out, nails start coming up, and the way she falls down the well is the floor gives way, and then the TV comes down and knocks her in.
Very Final Destination, which was 2 years ago. Sorry, 2 years before this. So I think inspiration would have been there. I really liked this shot of the nails unscrewing them. The screws unscrewing themselves. That was wonderfully twisted. There's nothing like this in the Japanese version. So I think your idea that possibly they were inspired by Final Destination is not unfair. There's a pretty good shout there, Haryan. Pretty good shout. I mean,
it was Final Destination done quite well as well, in my opinion. Because man, if anyone remembers our coverage of that, I just was not a fan of any of the deaths.
I was so off on that. I thought you'd really liked it.
I mean, they were really funny. I'll give it that. But
yeah, that's what I felt of this one though. I was kind of like, oh, that's. I kind of let it go a bit more though, because it's established how
you see a TV flash go to static, then you know that Samara's influencing things, and you know she can do stuff with the water, through the water.
Yeah.
I think it was set up better than Final Destination, which just goes, oh, now there's electricity everywhere. Now the car's a Faraday cage. Now they're getting out, and the gas goes off, and it blows up, and it's like, oh god, you can't just Rube Goldberg these things. You got to have a bit more class, which I think this did. But I did find it quite. It wasn't perfect. I don't think you can. I think after Final Destination, you can't have things like this without kind of going, that's a Final Destination, a set piece. Please improve. Because I even had it for The Omen.
Yeah. Well, there was a reason I showed you those films one after the other. But I preferred how the Japanese one did this. So the female protagonist, oh crikey, I knew her name just a second ago. Asakawa. Ryuji, your Chad, he's gone down into the well and they're just trying to drain it. Get the water out with buckets. So he has her hauling it up, and she's just exhausted and unable to do it anymore. So then they swap places, and it just builds up her sense of fatigue because she knows her time is running out. And then when she has to go into the well, they've kind of got a lot of the water out, and so she's able to find the body more easily.
Yeah,
I like that a little bit more, but that's just personal taste.
Yeah, I liked it when she was down the well and panicking, and then obviously she finds the hair and has another vision, and that's where we find out Anna killed Samara.
Yeah.
And that, what did you make of that flashback showing Samara being killed?
I was like, oh, that's a nice way to wrap up the kind of past events story. Well, I say nice. She kills her daughter, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't have a screen cap of it, but it is very picturesque. Like it's almost kind of fairy tale and beautiful. And then there's the murder, which is just this really quite horrible juxtaposition.
Yeah, and she says like all I ever wanted was you, but obviously Samara's just caused issues on that island ever since she's been there. Which, the horses is just one thing. I mean, even the doctor that Rachel meets is like, oh, it's a small island. If one person gets a cold, it's everyone's cold. And it's like, what do you mean by that? And then she basically says, oh, that girl was a little S word. Obviously causing psychic problems, but it's kind of like a chicken and egg thing. It's not really revealed which came first. Was she abused first, or was she which caused her to cause problems, or was she causing problems which caused her to be abused? And I kind of like how ambiguous that is. Because this flashback finishes with this is okay, right? So before I was okay with two people putting a stone on, but Anna herself putting that stone on, no. So fair enough there. And then the Samara's body comes out of the water, and then it slowly degrades into a skeleton.
Very much CGI danger zone, but I think they get away with it.
I think it looks pretty good. Yeah. And then I was kind of like, at this point, it's like, oh, they've lifted the curse. This is going to be a happily ever after story. I'm surprised at this in a horror film.
There is a thing they add here that, again, I love this. I think this is such a good touch. It's just kind of the benefit of someone taking a second pass at the story. And it's this touch of asking how long you could live down there. And she realizes 7 days.
Yeah.
And that's there is literally no explanation for it in the Japanese version. So this sort of addition, this additional interpretation that they've added into the American version, I really love. It's also good for getting you to have your sympathy with Samara, where it really shouldn't be, as we find out.
Well, Well, this is the problem. Well, not the problem. This is the really interesting thing with the film. It's really easy to empathise with Samara, especially after she's like been put up in an attic with horses keeping her up at night, and then it's like, but then she says, "Oh, but I do want to kill people. I'm sorry, but it will continue." And you're like, "Oh, you're mental."
Yeah. Well, that does get us to one of like after things are looking up, the family's getting back together, or potentially, and you're feeling, oh, this is a bit wholesome. Noah's committed to his kid. I love that.
Yeah, but then the kid wakes up and Rachel's like, with her son, like in a nice way, like wanting to be close to him, and then it's she's like, oh, curse is lifted now, we helped her. And then he's like, you what? You weren't supposed to do that. Don't you understand? She never sleeps. And I'm like, oh my god, what's going to happen next then? Because is she free from the curse? Who knows? But then we get a really nice shot introducing this with Noah picking up his coffee, and it like focuses in on the like ring stain it leaves.
Yes.
And I was like, uh-oh, yes. TV going off. He goes over his...
Such a good payoff.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are so many things that make this work. I mean, just the way they thought about Samara moving here is just brilliant, that she just covers this sort of jerking movement that means suddenly she's up close. I love it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, there's that. The phone's constantly going because she's trying to call him saying you're in danger, get out of there. Or while at the same time she's trying to stop the nosebleed in her son. But yeah, she just rushes over while all this is happening, and you get the scene with her slowly coming out of the well. It does like a few cuts. She teleports, warps close to the screen. Yep, and then eventually you get there. She's crawling out the screen scene, and it's like, oh no. And then you get one quick shot of her actual face as well, and it's all you need. Like, she's clearly drowned and all that. She looks horrific, but then it's just the same as before. Like, you get the static, and then and the flashes of some of the grim parts, and that's it. And then Rachel goes up, finds the body. You don't even see the body for long. But you don't even see the body at this bit. She just turns it around and screams. Yeah. And then it's a bit later, you get a flashback to it. It's like, that's what I mean. They just don't blow their load. And it makes it a lot more effective because your head's going between when you see it and when she turned the thing around. It's, he will have looked like how the girl looked at first. I wonder how that looks. Oh, my imagination's going crazy. And then you get it flashed and you're like, yep, that's kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a good ending. And then obviously she works out, oh, you didn't kill me because I made a copy and showed it to someone. So instantly she takes her son to make a copy. And it's like, well, what now? Oh, I don't know. Yeah. And I really like the scene as well where she's putting all the pieces together, where you're getting flashbacks and she just works out, oh, she's crying out for help. You need to help her with that cry. Otherwise she wants to hurt you. It's like,
just a wonderful twist on, no, sorry, she is actually just evil.
Yeah. The film raised my hopes and dashed them quite expertly. Bravo.
And a good logic. The twist makes sense. She wants to spread the pain, and yes, so she wants you avoid it by copying the tape, making sure there are more videos out there. There is a really, really dark twist on this in the Japanese. So it still has the ending. You need to copy the tape and show it to someone else. So she has her son copy the tape, and then she calls her dad saying she needs a favor. She's going off to show the tape to her father to save her son. It is a very dark ending in the Japanese one. And they also have the sort of drive off the road, the long road with a storm ahead. It's very end of Terminator. And Mima, I think I get the impression is once you've seen it and you've lifted the curse, you're okay. That's the understanding I have of it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a one-time curse. It doesn't refresh.
Needle and Fur, we watched Animal Park after this. There was some excellent armadillo action. It was a very good mind bleach. I've got to say, I highly recommend it.
Just to confirm, that was Animal Park.
Yes, Animal Park.
Not Animal Farm. I hear that's a scary film.
Anyway, so that is
the end.
That is us at the end of Ring, or Ring and the Ring, with the curse continuing and being spread. Except no techno.
Yeah. Have you?
I mentioned this already. The Japanese one weirdly ends with techno. It's
really?
Yeah, it's very weird. You the kind of thing that at the end of Blade. It's very unexpected.
Have you seen the second Ring horror show?
Do you mean the American sequel?
The American sequel, yeah.
Yes, I have very little memory of it, other than some dodgy Dia CGI, and the ending of it is very much like the film Orphan that came out 4 years later.
Right.
Like almost identical dialogue as well. It's very weird. I can't say I recommend it though.
No, I mean I've seen it. I remember very little of it, but all I remember is that. All I remember is, for some reason, even though at the end of the first one they've got away from the curse by adhering to the rules, Samara in the second one is like, nah, actually, do you know what? Nah, I actually want to live again, and I want to live in the Weird Boy, and you can be my mum.
That sounds so weird out of context.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan. If I was going to recommend people watch anything else, I'd probably say just watch the prequel. There's a really good central performance by the woman playing the young Sadako. I really like that. I can't say I recommend any more of the American. Like, this feels like this was so good, but then any attempt to follow the story on, I think they struggle with.
Oh,
and that's not even getting into how very weird the original books are in terms of going off. But that's a whole other rabbit hole to go down.
So, yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's really difficult to sort of add on to this kind of film, because once you start adding new rules and sort of new conditions and all this stuff, it gets to a point where it gets too convoluted. Like I said, with the second one, it was like, oh, Samara's already going against her rules by deciding that actually she's not going to let the little boy off. She's going to possess him now and take over his body. It's like, where was that established before?
Yeah. I think we have effectively a one-hit wonder. As for this, anyone watch Rings?
I've not seen that. No,
I did not. It's a weird one. I mean, why would they're making it 14 years after Ring 2? An attempt to update it. It didn't seem to go anywhere. And it, as far as I can recall, the main thing it did was skip DVDs and get the curse onto the internet, which was kind of the inevitable thing, And YouTube is cursed enough anyway. Folks, shall we do our closing thoughts and get the scores in? Because I think we can actually appease Super Annie this time. All right, fantastic. Chat, you've been stars tonight. I want your scores if you managed to watch The Ring. Really appreciated the commentary, and let's go with TCG. Would you like to give us your thoughts and scores, sir?
Yeah, I think this was a very good movie. It's a nice little detective mystery. It doesn't it's scary in that it's really weird because there aren't too many scares in this film, but there just feels like there's a constant suspense over it whereby anything could happen at any moment. And I think the lack of jump scares, the lack of horror in a really weird way kind of adds to it. And I think
less is more type thing.
Yeah, and I think this film done it really beautifully. I also loved the lighting, the hue, the light filter that they used to sort of like blue shift it, or sort of like make it bluey green shift. I felt that was quite effective. In terms of the CGI, again, less is more. They were quite smart with using that. I'm more of a practical effects guy, and some of the practical effects, in particular the contortions of the faces, some of the most memorable things that I've ever sort of seen in a horror movie. Like I said earlier on in the stream, like the facial expressions that you see the victims in, I still do to this day when I'm trying to scare when I'm trying to scare the missus. But yeah, I mean, in terms of Ringu, I've seen it, but I don't remember very much, so I wouldn't naturally score that. But in terms of the American version, or as I called it in our Discord chat, the Onion Ring, yeah, it's going to be a solid. It's a solid 10, easily. Not a lot of ketchup. A small cut of cheese for that one that one scene. But yeah, it's an easy 10.
Nice. I think that's very fair.
And we'll chuck an onion ring in there as well.
Excellent.
Nice.
Yes. How about you, Haryan? Let's go with you.
Yeah, this film's pretty good. It's very much my type of horror, with the small stakes, the a bit like The Thing as well. You knew what the stakes were. Everyone can die. With this one, it's a bit more set at 7 days, but it's also 7 days is not a long time to conduct an investigation, really. And then at the end of it, it all turned out to be futile anyway. I think that's what I liked as well. It was all for nothing. Because they make it there, they find the girl in the well. They think it's all over, and it's just, nope, you got the wrong conclusion there. She never sleeps. She wants to hurt people and all this. And as I say, the investigator, I mean, she even says at one point, Rachel, who made this and where did it come from? And I'm like, yeah, that is a question I would ask, yes. It turns out it was made by Samara, just willing it into the world in cabin 12. And then, from there you get the curse. And God knows how many people saw it before that. You never find that out either, which is pretty interesting. So it's so good. There's so many more questions to ask. It's good for another watch through again. Negatives, the horse scene needed to dial it back a bit. It just looks too, the horse falling off, committing suicide is just too funny.
Wow, Susan.
Oh no. No.
South forever sleep. And I guess you can say put like the stone. You didn't have to have it be like a stone that goes on top of the well. It could have just been like a wooden panel, like that one person can move. But I guess stone on stone sounds better. Plus, as better as the what's it called, Final Destination scene was, it. Yeah, I think it needed to be. I don't know how I'd change that actually, but I get the feeling it could have been done better. But I'm rambling now. I digress. So, in terms of burgers, I'd say a 9 out of 12. I think what it does very well, and especially with as you were saying before, less is more with the horror. I think some bits could have been cut out to bring it down. I don't think this needed to be a 2-hour film, really. But I mean, everything it does pretty well, and the characters are believable, and very consistent as well, and all likable apart from Samara. So yeah, 9 out of 12 burgers, no cheese, because this film took itself very seriously, as it should.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah. Oh, how about reading that prediction, TCG?
Let's do it. Right, so prediction for Haryan. If they're a reporter, send them for slaughter. Let me start that again. Prediction for Haryan. If they're a reporter, send them for slaughter, Gláeddyv. Haryan overall liked The Ring, but his jimmies were massively rustled by Rachel's journalism. Finding the Morgans by looking up lighthouses is probably the most obvious example. He will also wonder why Brian Cox belted Rachel before killing himself. Some loose threads like this will cost a few burgers, but he'll enjoy a relatively taut, stylized horror that rewards patience. He may also ask if there was really a way out of doom, given the revelation that Samara was always evil. Still, he will have enjoyed The Ring, though he won't have found it particularly scary. If he watched Ringu, he would have preferred it. 9 out of 12 burgers, no ketchup.
Nice. I know, I did actually find this genuinely scary.
Yeah, I got the score right, but the actual analysis wrong. So
interesting, but yeah, no, pretty good considering.
Nice. All right, closing thoughts for me. I love the dread. I love this sense that actually you don't need to worry about something jumping out from the dark at you. You're just going to be dead in 7 days, and it's a very different type of horror that is, for me, it's very effective. I like the clear storyline of you have got to find out what was at the root of this tape. It's a strong plot line that drives a whole movie, and the stakes are real, relatable, and solid. You know, especially her caring for her, first for herself, then for her ex, and then her son. I love that, and then ultimately, that's all part of a really beautifully shot film. Very stylish, with great thought put to it. And having seen the original Ring, I think I really prefer the way the original Ring handles the background of Sadako. This is full of touches that do improve it. Things like explaining the 7 days, things like the gore on the corpse that we mentioned. I stand up for the horse death. I think, as you say, it could have been trimmed. You know, there's an extra 10 minutes in here that didn't necessarily need to be in here. Things like seeing the friend in the hospital, things like visiting the doctor on the island were not needed. Things like her one-off scene in the office that were there to basically show that she's cocky and confident in a way that doesn't really match the rest of her character, because we see her demonstrate her competence for the rest of the entire film. So we didn't really need that scene. And that could have got us our 10 minutes back. But these are quibbles. Overall, I still really liked it on the rewatch. I think this holds up fantastically. You can show this to anyone, I think, and raise their estimation of horror. For me, it's a very strong 10.
Nice.
Yeah. So 10 out of 12 burgers. No ketchup, but I'm going to copy TCG. Got to have the old onion ring in there. Dash of soy sauce. You can still taste the soy sauce. All right. I'm going to round it off now, seeing as we are actually going to be able to finish within Super Nanny's remit. Thanking TCG and Haryan. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, chat. You've been amazing. I see that you liked this one. I think you're going to really like next week as well. As you saw from the start, next week's film is 8mm, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Nick Cage. I think you're going to really like that one as our second disturbing footage arc. Haryan, do you have anything to share?
Oh, I made a video today about the Tories not being able to catch a break with scandals this week.
I need to watch that.
Because the Prime Minister and the Chancellor have been very naughty boys, and then someone was caught noncing. So he's been kicked out for being an MP. And then another what was it? What's it called? Crispin something.
Crispin Blunt.
Blunt. Yeah, he came out with a really weird blog post basically saying, "Oh, that whole trial was just saying gay people are bad, and now gay Muslims around the world are going to have a bad name." And I was like, that's a really weird thing to say after someone's been caught noncing. I'm not going to lie.
Priorities, Crispin.
So yeah, I have that video made today. Tomorrow on the Wellington Project, I have a big old article coming out all about the present state of energy in the UK and what the future of it's probably going to look like. It's going to be a long article, and I may even turn it into a video of me just kind of reading the article. But I'll give it a couple of weeks before I do that, because I want everyone to go over to the Wellington Project and read my article when it's up tomorrow at 12 p.m. Well, midday tomorrow. So GMT, or are we in BST now? Whatever. Lunchtime in the UK. So there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Regional variations as well, but you all know that, right?
With your dad's getting to be a bit of a regular in the chat here.
Yeah.
Lure him in.
Yeah, we'll get him in at some point, I'm sure.
All right. And TCG, how about yourself?
So I should have a video about this Thursday. Hopefully this Thursday. Sorry, this week I should say. I'm aiming for Thursday, but it might be a little bit late just because things are still quite busy work-wise. That is going to be kind of like a second part to an earlier case I did. Not so much a sequel, but more of an addition to I'm looking at making a series potentially, depending on how this one goes. But yeah, it's not great. We're talking. It's a bit of a silly tie-in here, but there is 7 days, much like this movie. I do reference very briefly Video Nasties. I do very briefly reference the BBFC. So thank you, Bob Horrorshow. What are you doing to me? But yeah, on the whole, it's a really grim case. So I'm serious with the old viewer discretion on that one. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I've also set up a Buy Me a Coffee page now because, you know, I was debating whether to do something like a Patreon or members stuff, but I don't upload enough. So, you know, if you like a video enough to drop me a coffee, then please do.
Nah.
That's all right. I mean, you don't watch them anyway, Harry, and you're too scared.
My girlfriend does, to be fair, so see if she's charitable.
All right, good stuff, DCG. I'm going to go rogue here, and I will say that it looks like we've got a confluence of friends. So you've got friend of the show Years, and also on friend of the show Lambda on his channel. So Lambda is doing a series of streams over Easter, calling it Lambster. And looks like Years is going to be on tomorrow evening. So I was going to watch all of Lambster anyway. So I would invite anyone watching to give that a view. There we go, Years. Unconventional shill.
Boom.
All right. And, well, while we can stay in Super Nanny's good graces, I'm going to leave it here. So thanks again, TCG and Harry, and thank you for chat. You've been nice and lively tonight. I always appreciate that. And I will leave it there. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.
Hashtag Shell Gang. 7 days.
7.
Oh, no.
7 shills.